Most people think emotions are random, uncontrollable forces that just happen to us. They believe feelings come and go like weather, unpredictable and beyond influence. But 5 centuries ago, a man named Niccolo Machiavelli discovered something most will never understand. Emotions aren't chaos. They're systems with patterns, triggers, and most importantly, weak spots. Hidden vulnerabilities in the human psyche that, when touched precisely, can flip someone's entire emotional state without them even realizing what happened. These aren't accidents of psychology. They're architectural flaws in how the mind processes reality, and once you see them, you can never unsee them. In this video, you're not going to learn surface-level psychology, positive thinking, or feel-good advice that sounds nice but changes nothing. You're going to discover the invisible pressure points of human emotion, the exact moments when someone's defenses crack, when their logic shuts down, and when their entire emotional framework becomes yours to reshape. This isn't about manipulation for harm or control for ego. This is about understanding the hidden architecture of influence that governs every human interaction, every relationship dynamic, every moment when one person's words or actions completely change another person's reality. The same principles Machiavelli used to counsel princes, to predict human behavior, and to navigate the complexities of power are the ones that will make you unforgettable in any relationship, negotiation, or social dynamic. Because what Machiavelli understood that most people miss is this: emotions aren't feelings, they're responses, and responses can be anticipated, guided, and in the hands of someone who truly understands human nature, completely redirected. If you're ready to see behind the curtain of human emotion and learn what most people will never know about psychological influence, hit that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to learn will change how you see every conversation, every relationship, and every moment of emotional tension for the rest of your life. This isn't knowledge that comes from textbooks or theories. This comes from centuries of observation about what actually makes people tick, what actually changes minds, and what actually creates the kind of influence that lasts. The first weak spot lies in something psychologists call emotional certainty, but what Machiavelli would have called the fortress of feeling. Most people cling to their emotional state like a security blanket, like it's their identity itself. When someone is angry, they want to stay angry because it feels justified, righteous, like proof they've been wronged. When they're sad, they hold on to sadness because it feels real, authentic, like evidence of their depth. When they're confident, they protect that confidence because it feels safe, like armor against the world's judgment. But here's what Machiavelli understood about human nature that most people never grasp. Certainty is not strength, it's rigidity. And rigidity always has breaking points, stress fractures that appear the moment you apply pressure in unexpected places. The moment you can make someone question their emotional state, not through argument or confrontation, but through subtle contradiction and gentle dissonance, you've found their first weak spot. This isn't about attacking their feelings directly. That would only strengthen their defenses. This is about introducing elements that don't quite fit their emotional narrative, small inconsistencies that their mind can't ignore. You don't tell an angry person to calm down. That only makes them angrier, more convinced they're right to feel wronged. Instead, you respond with such unexpected calm and genuine curiosity that their anger starts to feel disproportionate, almost embarrassing. You don't try to cheer up someone who's sad by telling them to think positive or look on the bright side. You acknowledge their sadness as valid and real, but then casually mention something that doesn't fit their narrative of despair. You plant one small seed of doubt about their emotional certainty, and their mind does the rest of the work, questioning, analyzing, slowly dismantling the fortress they built around their feelings. The second weak spot is what Machiavelli would call the hunger for recognition, what modern psychology calls the need for emotional validation. Every person, no matter how confident they appear on the surface, no matter how successful or self-assured they seem, has parts of themselves they're unsure about. These are the emotional wounds they protect most carefully, the insecurities they've built their entire personality around hiding. And paradoxically, these are the areas where they crave validation most desperately. It's like having a broken bone that never healed properly. You can function, you can walk, you can even run, But there's always that underlying weakness that aches when the weather changes. Most people make the critical mistake of giving validation too easily and too directly. They see someone fishing for compliments and immediately give them what they want. They hear someone express doubt and rush to reassure them. But when validation comes too fast, when it's too predictable, it has no weight. It becomes meaningless noise, like background music that no one really hears. The emotional weak spot isn't in giving validation. It's in understanding the psychology of scarcity and timing. You identify what someone needs to hear most, what would heal that broken bone in their ego, then you don't say it. You let them feel that absence like phantom pain. You let them wonder why you haven't acknowledged the thing they're most proud of or most insecure about. You let them work for your recognition, question whether they deserve it, doubt whether they'll ever receive it. Then, when they least expect it, when they've almost given up hope of getting what they need from you, you give them exactly what they needed to hear. But you give it with such precision and timing that it doesn't just validate them. It creates an emotional anchor, a psychological reference point that changes how they see themselves. They don't just feel good about themselves in that moment. They feel good because of you. And that distinction, that attribution, changes everything about the dynamic between you. The third weak spot exists in the space between what people say they want and what their behavior reveals they actually crave. Machiavelli was a master at reading this contradiction. He knew that people's words are often lies they tell themselves, but their actions always tell the truth. Someone says they want honesty, but they surround themselves with people who tell them what they want to hear. Someone claims they value loyalty, but they're drawn to people who keep them slightly off balance. Someone insists they don't care about status, but watch how they light up when acknowledged by someone they perceive as important. The emotional weak spot is in recognizing this contradiction and responding to what they actually want, not what they claim to want. You don't call out the contradiction directly. That would make them defensive. Instead, you simply behave in a way that speaks to their deeper, unspoken desires. You become the person who gives them what they didn't know they were looking for. And when you do this consistently, you don't just influence their emotions. You become essential to their emotional well-being. The fourth weak spot is perhaps the most powerful, and it's something Machiavelli called the illusion of choice. People need to feel like they're making their own decisions, even when they're being influenced. The moment someone feels manipulated or controlled, their defenses go up and your influence disappears. But when you can guide someone's emotions while making them feel like they're choosing their own path, you've accessed the deepest level of psychological influence. You don't tell someone how to feel. You create conditions where they naturally move toward the emotional state you want them in. You don't demand their attention. You become interesting enough that they choose to give it. You don't chase their approval. You become valuable enough that they want to earn yours. This requires patience, subtlety, and a deep understanding of human psychology. But when done correctly, it doesn't feel like influence at all. It feels like genuine connection, natural attraction, inevitable conclusion. The fifth and final weak spot is what happens when someone's emotional defenses are completely overwhelmed. Most people think this means breaking someone down through aggression or pressure. But Machiavelli understood something more sophisticated. Sometimes the most powerful way to overwhelm someone's defenses is through unexpected gentleness, strategic vulnerability, or perfectly timed silence. When someone is prepared for conflict, aggression, or pushback, and instead they encounter something completely different, their entire defensive system becomes useless. They don't know how to respond. Their usual emotional patterns don't work. And in that moment of confusion and disorientation, they become incredibly receptive to influence. You don't attack their walls. You make their walls irrelevant. You don't try to break through their defenses. You walk around them entirely. This is the highest level of emotional influence, and it's something most people will never learn because it requires you to be comfortable with paradox, with doing the opposite of what seems logical, with trusting in principles that seem counterintuitive. But here's what you need to understand about these emotional weak spots. They're not weapons to be used carelessly. They're tools of profound responsibility. When you can influence someone's emotions this deeply, you're not just affecting their mood or their day. You're potentially changing their life trajectory. You're accessing the control room of their psychology. And with that kind of power comes the obligation to use it wisely, ethically, and with genuine care for the other person's well-being. The goal isn't to create emotional dependence or to manipulate people for selfish gain. The goal is to become someone who can navigate human emotion with such skill and understanding that every interaction becomes richer, more meaningful, and more beneficial for everyone involved. These are the unseen weak spots in human emotion that Machiavelli identified centuries ago and that most people today don't even know exist. They're not tricks or techniques. They're fundamental principles of human psychology that govern how we connect, how we influence, and how we leave lasting impressions on each other. Master them, and you don't just change how others respond to you. You change who you become in the process. Someone who understands the deepest levels of human nature and can navigate them with wisdom, precision, and genuine care for others. So, if something shifted in your understanding today, if you felt your perspective on human emotion expand in ways you didn't expect, comment the word influence below. That one word tells me you're ready to see beneath the surface of human behavior and understand the principles that most people never learn. And if you want to continue this journey into the deeper aspects of psychology, persuasion, and human nature, subscribe now, because what's coming next will show you not just how to read these emotional weak spots, but how to develop such genuine strength and authenticity that you never need to use them as weapons. The ultimate goal isn't to control others. It's to understand them so deeply that every interaction becomes an opportunity for genuine connection and mutual growth.